Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Market Watch video. This time we're talking about the 17th of March this week. Before I get into the video, first I would like to remind you, if you have not already, please do subscribe to the channel. Getting pretty close to 33,000 as of today. I appreciate that. It makes me happy that I'm able to entertain you. We do have mostly gainers. I don't want to talk about as many losers because I feel like most of the ones that are losing their value are ones we've already talked about in the previous weeks that were reaching all-time highs. And there's really not much else to learn about that. So whenever I talk about cards that are gaining value or losing value, just know that I'm not talking about every single card this week that has gained significantly or lost significantly, just maybe the ones that I'm the most curious about that maybe need an explanation. So this first one we have to talk about is Karazikar the Eye Tyrant, but not the one from the pre-con deck. No, we're talking about the extended art variant that you receive in the special collector's packs for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Across the board, the extended art variant for every one of these commander cards, it's significantly more expensive, and right now you're seeing an average listing price of $30, but as we know, that's more of the seller trying to influence the market. When the buyers influence the market, that's what really matters, and that market price is around $11.75, which is still pretty good. You are seeing, if you look at the chart, an insane listing price difference, but you're also noticing that influence what buyers are willing to pay. Sometimes the monkey see, monkey do mentality pays off. If you get enough sellers to follow your lead, buyers are going to be more likely to spend above where the market average is. And this is really weird because Karazikar is not a highly sought after card. It's a cool card, I love it, but when you look at the original foil version that comes with the pre-con deck, there's not even really enough data to register with MTG stocks. Now, I don't know if that's the card itself or just the website, but if you're looking at that foil price there, $1.87, that seems about right. So if you were expecting value out of your Karazikar period, don't. It's really just the extended art version for now. Next, we have Felidar Umbra. Now, this is a weird one because I was almost certain that this was released in Rise of the Eldrazi way back in like 2008 or 9. But no, this was actually a Plane Chase exclusive card that was included in that Aura deck that came with the Plane Chase set. It's really weird. I wasn't the biggest fan of Plane Chase when it came out, even when they brought it back with the anthology. I mean, they were creative with the concept, but unfortunately it didn't quite deliver. If it did, we probably would have had a direct follow-up to Plane Chase by now, but just looking at this card, it's not even so much the original 2012 Plane Chase. What you're seeing is actually influence from the other printings, which would come in the Plane Chase anthology, as well as the Mystery Booster print. Those seem to be averaging much higher than the $2.50 for the market price that you're seeing right here, which is really weird. It's not typically like that when the original print is the inferior value. But just going over why this card is desirable, we do have an aura focus with Light Pause. That is the commander option that's all about auras, that lets you search up auras for protection, and Totem Armor is a pretty desirable one for that reason. It's also one of the most flexible Totem Armor auras because you can just pay 2 to attach it to another target creature you control. Sort of like an equipment, if you change your mind, if you have second thoughts, you can place it onto something else. Great card, and I think people are starting to recognize it. March of Otherworldly Light is the next card that's been gaining, and as you can see from the chart, it's coming right back down, but it's still doing pretty well for the week, so that's why we're talking about it. This is probably all standard. This is usually how standard goes. Lesser known removal spells, maybe underrated value cards that could be sideboard additions, maybe just realized answers to the current meta suddenly start to go up in price. Now, I don't know if this is a perfect answer for something like vehicles or the shrines, whatever's currently the meta. But seeing as this is a common issue in standard where if you don't have the right removal for the meta, it becomes incredibly lopsided. So if you don't have enough enchantment or artifact removal, you start to see everything kind of blend together and be the same deck. And I don't even think this is that great of a card. You could always, of course, for 1 white mana, exile any token creature. That might be useful, but in most situations, I think this is going to be, white in X to deal with whatever you want exiling it, which isn't super efficient. I don't think this is desirable for Commander, because if you are going to be investing more mana into something, you're going to want more targets in Commander, and you certainly don't want to give up card advantage in white. So those are some red flags for me when it comes to this card, but in Standard I think, yeah, it might be worth keeping an eye out. Next we have Ranger Captain of Eos. We're talking about something that's a little bit stronger. Obviously, I think you look at other formats, not just Commander. You do have Modern, you do have Legacy. It's always important to recognize whenever something has playability in other formats. Again, I'm not an expert on those formats, so I tend to lean on my knowledge of Commander. I don't see it as often played in Commander. It doesn't mean I don't see it. It just means that if this is seeing around $20 to $30, that value is almost certainly because of some other format. And I say that because we have better cards than this for Commander. I'm blanking on the creature's name right now, but you know the one I'm talking about from Conspiracy 2, the one that lets you search up a creature, I think it's power 2 or less or toughness 2 or less, which is way better than this. I know this has an ability, it can sack itself to prevent opponents from casting non-creature spells, but you're playing this initially because of its ability to search. So if we're judging it on the ability to search, I don't think it's that desirable for Commander. And I've talked about support levels, let's talk about resistance levels with this card. As you can see, going back to around June, July of last year, this was constantly testing that $20 amount, and if you're unaware, I am only looking at the market value here, and you look at the $20 level, it did reach it a few times. However, it didn't hold. So to me, that marks resistance. If it tries to claim a level and it's not able to for an extended period of time, that becomes resistance. Later in the year, it went right back down to $12, $13. But now for March, you start to see it go up well above where that resistance once was. So if it came back up to around 20, I would be a bit more concerned, but now that it's well above that level, you can realistically expect it to hold above 20. That doesn't mean it will. I can't guarantee that the market's going to play out that way. It's just this is how markets tend to behave. Once sellers start to see that people are willing to buy this for well above 20, do you think they're going to be wanting to list it for under 20 anytime soon? So you have to think about this card as a seller and a buyer. People want a deal, but sellers are not going to give you that kind of deal if everyone else is still paying around 20 and above. Next we have Serenity. We've talked about this card before, and it's still climbing. I remember talking about this as a gainer not so long ago, but when I did, it was only around a couple dollars. Now you're starting to see, I mean, the listing price is way too high. I don't know if this is a $14 or $15 card, but that influence is driving the market price up as well. So you're starting to see people buy this for over $5. It's not reserve list from Weatherlight, but it's a solid card. During your upkeep, you bury all artifacts and enchantments, so you just destroy everything there. And it's a 2-mana enchantment that sits on the field. I think it's pretty underrated. It is a bit slow, but I like it as a threat, especially if you can constantly bring it back. Same thing as before, you could call resistance anything where this was struggling to claim. And I don't think it was struggling to claim, it just was slowly climbing. It's still not a well-known card, so once more people start talking about it, then you'll see the interest grow. And I can almost guarantee you this was because of some other channel or some big internet personality, social media, maybe Twitter. They talked about this card and everyone in the community started to recognize its potential. I notice that sometimes with the cards I talk about the following day, everyone will be talking about the price hike. But you see this with like even the bigger channels. Like I'm talking about the ones that have at least 100,000 subscribers and above, where when they talk about something, almost instantly everyone else talks about it and people want their own. So this drove the price up significantly. Not saying that's what happened, but to me it's Occam's razor. Now let's talk about some losers. We're talking about Wandering Mage. Now, of course, last week we talked about this one. It was really funny though. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I don't want to do too much of this because I think most people would assume after reaching all-time highs in the listing, it wouldn't really be around that for much longer, which is good because last week the listing was something crazy like $25. And if you look at the market price, you look at the chart, it's that white line, it's not the blue line. It did go up, but again, resistance, it seems to be $4 for this card. It's not reaching $4 and holding for long. So it's coming back down. I think people are starting to realize, yeah, this isn't really worth what sellers are saying it is. It is reserve list, but it's a bad card. Like no one's playing it. The best it's going to do is close to 4, but not 4. This isn't to say that it's going to stay at this level forever. We might be seeing the rise of reserve list cards across the board, which may end up driving this up to $10 for all we know. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. Next up, we have Liliana Heretical Healer. This is from the Commander Collection Black, but I really like talking about Planeswalkers because, boy, have they changed. Our perception of them, everything. Remember back, I would say, around Theros, that seems like right around the time, maybe Fate Reforged, we had Ugin. That was maybe the last time we ever looked at a set and said, the Planeswalker is the chase card. I don't think that's the case anymore, and we are starting to see, with more and more, the saturation of the Planeswalker card type, and although this is a flip creature, it still kind of has that effect, where because we have more of them, people are becoming less infatuated, and unless they directly synergize with a specific strategy, they're sort of stuck in that identity of just being generic good cards. And I think while Liliana Heretical Healer and the Flip Planeswalker are decent cards in black, it's not like there are strategies that are in desperate need of whatever these provide. So you're seeing the value go down significantly. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the Market Watch video for the 17th of March this week. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.